Good morning, students. In the previous lecture, we started one amazing thing about the organic chemistry, from where we can calculate percentage of particular element in the compound. In that lecture, first we calculate the percentage of carbon and hydrogen. After that, we calculate the percentage of nitrogen in the compound by two methods. First one was Dumas method and the next one was Zildahl's method. In this lecture, we are going to continue our journey with that particular topic. So today we are going to calculate the first percentage of halogens. After that, we are going to calculate percentage of sulfur, percentage of phosphorus, and after that percentage of oxygen. So that will be all for today. So wait a minute. That will be all for today. Let's start with the halogens. Okay, so for the halogens, what we have in common? First of all, there are total 4 halogens: fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. Among them, fluorine cannot be measured by these particular any methods, because fluorine is the most electronegative element, and to calculate that we will have to find every single element percentage, and after that we have to minus it from 100, then we can find out the fluorine. So right now we are only going to talk about chlorine, bromine and iodine. Okay, so what happens? Carious method happens. What is Carious method? Carious method is a particular one type of capillary containing method. This capillary is 50 centimeter long. 50 centimeter long. 50, not 15. And 2 centimeter diagram is there. 2 centimeter diagram and 50 centimeter long. In the sense, if we take a scale and we measure from 0 to 50, this much long capillary will be there. Okay, 2 centimeter diagram. So if you think about a small, if you imagine small, means that will be a wrong imagination. It is 50 centimeter long, at least this much amount of length is there, and 2 centimeter diagram. So it is like a cylindrical pipe. That is the carious capillary. In that carious capillary, first of all it was open from above. After that, I added a fusion tubes inside the capillary. Fusion tube means, we discussed fusion tube in the Lessine test. The tube which have purpose to be broken. So that fusion tube is containing my organic compound. Inside the capillary, concentrated nitric acid is there. So two things will be common: organic compound and concentrated nitric acid. This Carious method can be useful for find out the percentage of chlorine, bromine, iodine, sulfur and phosphorus. Total number of 5 elements can be measured by single method, Carious method. That's why it is a very important method. Okay, what we have to do now? If we want to calculate the percentage of halogen, we are going to add AgNO3, silver nitrate. If we want to calculate the percentage of sulfur, we are going to add BaNO3 twice. in the sense barium nitrate. And if we want to calculate the percentage of phosphorus, either we will use ammonium molybdenate or else we will use milk of magnesia. What is milk of magnesia? MgOH twice. Okay. So two ingredients are common: concentrated nitric acid HNO3 and our organic compound. So let's start with the halogen bicarious method. Okay, first of all, I want to calculate the percentage of chlorine. So for chlorine, but before we start, let's suppose mass of organic compound is equal to m gram. Okay, and okay, what is happening inside the method for the halogens? When we add AgNO3 over here, first compound will react with nitric acid. Compound will react with nitric acid and halogen will be free. And that free halogen, in the sense Cl minus, Br minus or I minus, will react with AgNO3. In the sense, if chlorine is there, HCl will form. If bromine is there, HBr will form. And if iodine is there, HI will form. That reacts with AgNO3 and they release AgX. They release AgX. AgCl, AgBr and AgI. Silver chloride, silver bromide and silver iodide. So suppose that particular thing is released. Okay, AgX will be solid. That's why AgX is going to be precipitated from the solution. AgX will be precipitated from the solution. And that's why we are going to filter it. After we filter AgX, I am going to wash it with distilled water so that any amount of nitric acid or AgNO3 or organic compound is there, then it will be washed out. So my final washed AgX will be wet. So I am going to dry it in the sunlight or else in the oven. After that, I am going to vaporize all the molecules of water and then I am going to weight it, and that weight is m1. So mass of AgX will be equal to m1 gram. The formed AgX was precipitated, then I washed it, then I dried it, and after that I measured its mass. Now let's talk about the chlorine. If 1 mole AgCl is formed, AgCl, instead of X I am writing now Cl. If 1 mole of AgCl is formed, the molecular weight of AgCl I have written down over here, 143.5 gram AgCl will be there, and into this 35.5 gram chlorine is available. But this was for the 1 mole. I have m1 gram of AgX. Then how much amount of chlorine will be released? That's why mass of chlorine will be equal to cross multiplication m1 into 35.5 divided by 143.5. that will be the mass of chlorine. Now percentage of chlorine. I told you, if you want to calculate the percentage of any element, simply multiply it by 100 divided by m. So m1 into 35.5 divided by 143.5 into 100 divided by m. That will be the formula for percentage of chlorine. Let's put it into the box. Our next element, bromine. So now for bromine, 1 mole AgBr is containing of 188 gram of AgBr. 188 gram of AgBr. Into that 80 gram of bromine is available. But for me, m1 gram of AgBr is there, then how much gram of bromine will be there? So as simple as it is, likewise chlorine, cross multiplication, mass of bromine will be equal to m1 into 80 divided by 188. And if I want to calculate the percentage of bromine, then it will be equal to m1 into 80 divided by 188 into 100 upon m. Same formula is there. Difference is only because of weight of AgBr and Br. Now the last one, the last halogen, iodine. So for the iodine, 1 mole of AgI will give me 235 gram of AgI. Into that 127 gram of iodine is available. Gram of iodine is available. Then into m1 gram, how much amount of iodine is available? So simply mass of iodine will be equal to cross multiplication m1 into 127 divided by 235, and if I want the percentage, then the percentage of iodine will be equal to m1 into 127 divided by 235 into 100 divided by m. That will be the percentage formula for the iodine. So 3 different halogens with 3 different Carius methods. In the textbook, there is only a common formula has been given. They have not given a separate formula for the halogens. So we make it clear about that. So no more confusions will be there. Now let's talk about our next particular step. For the sulfur, how we are going to use Carius method. 2 ingredients were the same, our organic compound and nitric acid concentrated. So when we heat our organic compound with nitric acid, the sulfur of the organic compound will be converted into sulfuric acid because of nitric acid. And after sulfur converted into sulfuric acid, we are going to add barium nitrate into the solution. So H2SO4 plus BaNO3 twice will give me BaSO4. Solid particles of barium sulfate. means barium sulfate will precipitated as a solid compound. So after that I am simply going to filter the barium sulfate extract, and after that I am going to wash it, then I am going to dry it, and after that I am going to weight it. So that weight would be m1 gram. So suppose mass of organic compound is equal to m gram and mass of barium sulfate after the weighing, it comes m1 gram. So if 1 mole barium sulfate contains 233 gram of barium sulfate, into that 1 sulfur is available, so sulfur atomic mass is 32 gram sulfur. So into 1 mole of barium sulfate 32 gram sulfur is available. Then into m1 gram of barium sulfate how much sulfur is available? So simply mass of sulfur in organic compound will be equal to the cross multiplication m1 into 32 divided by 233. If we talk about the percentage, simply multiplied by 100 into 100 by m. So m1 divided by 32 upon 233 into 100 into divided by m. That will be the formula for sulfur using Carrier's method. Now let's talk about the phosphorus. We have two different methods. First is ammonium molyblated method and another one is milk of magnesia method. Okay, let's talk about both of them. First we are going to talk about ammonium molyblated formula. Two things are common, our organic compound and nitric acid. So when nitric acid reacts with the organic compound, it is going to form phosphoric acid H3PO4. Our organic compound is going to form phosphoric acid H3PO4. After that I am going to add ammonium molyblated into the solution. This is not ammonium molyblated, remember that. I am going to add ammonium molyblated into the solution. So it will form yellow colored precipitation, canary yellow colored precipitation, which is ammonium phosphomolyblated. Ammonium phosphomolyblated, which have molecular formula NH4 thrice PO4 into 12 MOO3. The weight of this particular compound is 1877 gram per mole. So remember the molecular mass of the product. The yellow canary precipitation, after we will filter it out, I am going to wash it, I am going to dry it, and after that I am going to weight it. So first of all, according to method number 1, okay, before we start the method, let's think about the common grounds here. Suppose mass of organic compound is equal to m gram. Okay, now let's talk about method 1. So method 1 will be mass of ammonium phosphomolyblated will be equal to m1 gram. Yellow canary precipitation weight will be equal to m1 gram after I dry it and weight it. So after that I am simply going to use my maths. 1 mole ammonium phosphomolybdenate will be equal to 1877 gram. Among them, 1 phosphorus is available. That's why 31 gram of phosphorus is there. So in my m1 gram, how much phosphorus will be released? That's why mass of phosphorus will be equal to m1 into 31 divided by 1877. If we talk about the percentage of phosphorus, then simply m1 into 31 divided by 1877 into 100 by m. This will be the formula for phosphorus using first formula. Now method number 2. So method number 2, using milk of magnesia instead of ammonium molybdenate. Now I am adding milk of magnesia, which will release with H3PO4, and it will form after heating Mg2P2O7. I will weight it. It will be m1 gram. So first of all, mass of Mg2P2O7 will be equal to m1 gram. Okay, that's why 1 mole of Mg2P2O7 gives me 222 gram Mg2P2O7, whereas 62 gram of phosphorus is available. 62 gram of phosphorus is available because 2 phosphorus are there. Now if I have m1 gram of compound, then how much amount of phosphorus will be there? Simply cross multiplication. So mass of phosphorus will be equal to m1 into 62 divided by 222. Now the percentage of phosphorus using this method will be equal to m1 into 62 divided by 222 into 100 by m. So that was the second method, using the milk of magnesia for the phosphorus. Now let's talk about the oxygen. Okay, that was all about the Carius method. Carius method is over when we ended the phosphorus. Now we are going to talk about the oxygen. Okay, first of all, I have written the wrong spelling of the oxygen. Okay, now it is right. So for the oxygen, first method number 1, it is quite simple. 100 minus percentage of all other elements will be equal to percentage of oxygen. Quite simple, right? In the sense, if I will measure percentage of carbon, percentage of hydrogen, if nitrogen is present, I will measure it. If sulfur is present, I will measure it. If halogen is present, I will measure it. If phosphorus is present, I will measure it by using these formulas. Then I am going to subtract it from 100 total percentage. So it will directly give me the percentage of oxygen. Suppose the addition of all these elements are 70%. So remaining 30% will be oxygen. That was the first method, very easy method, when fluorine is not there. Otherwise we have to calculate oxygen. After that we can calculate the fluorine. So that was the first method, easy one. Now let's talk about the second method. Method number 2. Percentage of oxygen. First of all, our compound, suppose mass of organic compound is equal to m gram. Okay, I have taken m gram of the sample in a closed vessel and I am heating it in a special condition. So my organic compound containing oxygen will release dioxygen from it and other gaseous products. My organic compound will release dioxygen from this particular special type of system. That dioxygen will react with the carbon, not the carbon of organic compound. Remember that I have put it down charcoal into the another vessel. So let's draw a diagram for it so it can be more clear. Suppose this is my first vessel where reaction number 1 is occurring. So from the reaction number 1, new oxygen formed, O2, will go into the another container where I have put it down charcoal, carbon, charcoal, and this oxygen will react with it. So reaction number 2 will happen over here. So reaction number 2, that carbon will react with the oxygen. Okay, first of all, I am not burning it. It is simply reacting. Incomplete combustion is there. So carbon monoxide will form, not the carbon dioxide. After that, into the third container, I have taken down I2O5. Crystals of I2O5 is there. Crystals of I2O5 is there. So from here O2 will pass and from here CO will pass into the another container. Okay. Into this container reaction number 3 occurs. So reaction number 3, I2O5 reacts with carbon monoxide. Okay, how many oxygens are there? 5. So 5 carbon monoxide will be reacted and I2 will released and 5 CO2 will form. So from here I have connected one large vessel containing solution of KOH. Solution of KOH is there. So carbon dioxide will be absorbed in KOH. I know the weight of KOH already. And after that, when reaction is completed, the absorbed carbon dioxide will increase the weight of KOH. So I will measure the weight of carbon dioxide. But there is some minor changes are there. Here 5 carbon monoxide is used, whereas here 2 is formed. So we have to multiply this reaction by 5 and this reaction by 2. In the sense, when we use 5 mole of O2, we will obtain 10 mole of CO2. Look at the difference. I am getting there. What I am trying to tell you. 5 mole of dioxygen will give me 10 mole of CO2. Why? Because in the CO2, 1 oxygen is from O2 and 1 oxygen is from I2O5. 1 oxygen is from O2 and 1 oxygen is from I2O5. That's why Because of this, when 32 gram of oxygen is used, in the sense 1 mole of O2 is used, we will get 88 gram of carbon dioxide, in the sense 2 mole of CO2. Simply divide it by 5, so you will get the reaction what I am trying to tell you. In the sense, let's start our formula. So suppose mass of carbon dioxide formed is m1 gram. Therefore, if 1 mole of CO2 is formed, then 1 mole of CO2 contains 44 gram of CO2. Okay. If 88 contains 32 oxygen, then 44 will contain half of it. So if 44 gram of carbon dioxide is there, it will be containing 16 gram of O2. So it is containing 16 gram oxygen. Clear? Why? Because from O2, one oxygen is because of I2O5 and another oxygen is because of my organic compound. So I2O5 does not, we cannot consider it into our mechanism. That's why I have m1 gram of carbon dioxide, then how much amount of oxygen will be there? So mass of O2 will be equal to cross multiplication m1 into 16 divided by 44. That's why percentage of oxygen will be equal to m1 into 16 divided by 44 into 100 divided by m. Our final formula. We can also calculate the percentage of oxygen using I2. Okay, but that is for the higher level studies in the college. So that was it about all the elements used in organic chemistry. Now in the next lecture, we are going to study some of the fundamental sums that have been given in your textbook, in the examples as well as in the exercise. We will complete it, and after we will complete the rest of the exercise. After that, this chapter will be completed. So in the homework, you have to complete all the 3 carriers method from the textbook for 2 times, and after that complete the oxygen percentage formula from the textbook 2 times. That's all. In the next lecture, remember every single formula we have studied from carbon to the oxygen. Make a list of the formula, so when we calculate the sum, you can remember which formula we are going to put. Thank you so much. That was all for today's lecture.